Let's keep it real. 2025 has been a year for Dead by Daylight. We've had some rough chapters. We've had some dry spells, and for a minute there, it honestly felt like we were watching the game collapse on itself. But I'm telling you right now, the Stranger Things Part 2 chapter, it's really good. Guys, it's so good. The killer gameplay is actually unique. The new perks are all fun to use. We got 2 new survivors and 2 legendary skins. And I can't believe I have to say this, but we got 0 bugs. At least that I know of. It's hands down one of the best chapters I've ever played. But of course, I go online and what's everyone doing? They're already overthinking things. Can we just stop? Can we just enjoy this chapter for a little bit? Even if he's stronger than Nurse, which he isn't, he's 1,000 times more fun than Nurse will ever be. We finally have a killer that feels amazing to play, and we're already trying to overanalyze every single little bit of his kit. So today, forget the tier lists. I'm going to show you exactly why you need to buy the Stranger Things chapter the second it releases. Now, if you haven't read the patch notes because you read at a 4th grade level like I do, here's the Spark Notes version on what the killer actually does. His main ability is the Vine Attack. Think of this as like a ranged trap. You charge it up and place an AoE circle on the ground at a distance. It's not like a projectile like Huntress, it's a zone. So you predict where a survivor is running and try to like cut them off. But hitting them doesn't do damage immediately. You're basically like infecting them. You're giving them Worldbreaker tokens. Once you get enough tokens, the Worldbreaker timer starts. The sky turns red and all of a sudden those Vine attacks actually deal damage. On top of your Vine attack, you also have the Undergate. For this ability, you go underground and turn into a moving black stain on the floor. You can use this for map control or stealth, or you can jump back up for a big AoE attack. But I'm gonna be honest, right now, that attack's pretty easy to dodge, so it's not really practical. That might change by the time it goes live, but right now it looks cool, you just won't get many hits. For survivors to counter the Worldbreaker phase, survivors have to run to a grandfather clock on the map. That's how you lower the amount of time that Vecna can damage you with his ability. And I have to admit, this is one of the most satisfying interactions in the game. Like watching that timer quickly drain down just feels so good. Just keep in mind you can't drain all of it, so the pressure will never truly go away. Now on paper, that might sound pretty strong, but let me put it this way. Even when I'm getting hard tunneled by Vecna, I'm actually enjoying myself. And that brings me to exactly why I'm so obsessed with this killer. He's actually unique. In the past, we've given Behavior a lot of flack for just copy and pasting abilities. Like I thought Springtrap was fun, but let's be real. His power wasn't anything special. It was basically just Huntress from a slightly different angle. But Vecna is something entirely different. The power is difficult. Like my first few matches playing him were brutal, but that's exactly what makes him so rewarding. It feels like there's a huge skill ceiling here, so putting in hours to learn him actually pays off. Plus, for content creators like me, the potential for trick shots and crazy clips is insane, and I appreciate that Behavior. But the part that I love most, and this is rare, is that there's actually counterplay. Usually a strong killer means survivors are miserable, but here it feels like both sides can actually have fun. Every chase is just one big mind game. If you're predictable, you're gonna get hit. If you try to be too unpredictable, you might just get M1'd. You really have to focus. You have to be ready to dodge, double back, greed the pallet, the whole 9 yards. And when I get downed, I'm on the ground wishing I had zigged instead of zagged. I'm not cussing out the killer's entire family tree because I felt like I had 0 chance. Now let's talk perks, because honestly the current meta has been stale for a hot minute. Usually when a new killer drops, we get maybe 1 decent perk and the other 2 are straight dog shit. But Vecna breaks that streak. All 3 of these perks are actually really good and they open up some really fun new ways to play. First up is the one that everyone's talking about, Turn Back the Clock. This allows you to regress a generator without even kicking it. You just look at it and press a button. For lazy killers like me who hate walking the extra 5 feet to kick a gen, this is a dream come true. But before you start screaming at Behavior to nerf this, I tested its limits. You have to be pretty close, basically within an eye shot. I even tried to use it through the floor to damage a gen on the upper level, and it didn't work. So it has its limitations, but I still think it's gonna be strong. Next is Hex Hive Mind, and I'm calling it right now, this is gonna be my favorite perk of the chapter. It's basically like the Bonnie's guitar string add-on, or the semiotic keyboard add-on, but in perk form. It highlights generators based on their repair progress intensity. The information you get from this is incredible, and honestly, it makes the game flow so much better. And honestly, it helps me not tunnel. which is a huge W. And finally, we have Secret Project. On its own, it's probably the weakest of the three. It blocks a generator anytime a totem is cleansed or blessed, which is pretty bad. But the real benefit is you get undetectable when a gen is blocked. But look, it's not just the killer who ate with this update. Survivors got perks that are actually useful too. But before we talk about Dustin and 11, I can't forget to talk about Vecna's Mori. This Mori is pretty gnarly. It gives me like Sadako vibes, but on steroids. And as a Sadako main myself, I'm honestly a little bit jealous. It's gruesome, it's intense, and it fits the character perfectly. And just like Sadako, he also has like a Mini-Mori built into his kit. Kind of reminds me of like the Pyramid Head Mori. If a survivor is Death Hook and has a full Worldbreaker meter, if you hit them with your Vine attack or the Undergate, they don't go down. They just get suspended in air, and then you can just walk up and delete them right there. But look, if you're a survivor main thinking, great, another killer that just destroys me, listen up. Dustin and 11 didn't show up empty-handed. Usually one side gets the short end of the stick, but for the first time in a long time, both the killer and the survivors got perks that are actually worth running. So let's just rip the band-aid off first. Dustin and 11 both came with teamwork perks. That's full circuit and soft spoken. I'm gonna be honest with you, these are pretty useless. There really isn't a teamwork perk in the game that's good, and there's hundreds of better options you could run. But for the other four, this is where it gets interesting. Let's start with Dustin. His first perk is Bada Bada Boom. This is just Chem Trap, but for windows. So you do some gen progress, you trap a window, and when a killer vaults it, they get slowed down. It's not as strong as Chem Trap, but imagine setting this up at Killer Shack. But if you feel like that's too situational, his second perk, Change of Plan, gets a lot more utility. This lets you jump into a locker with an empty toolbox and transform it into a full med kit. And yeah, this is super convenient. I'm the type of survivor to bring a toolbox and just drain it on the first gen I see. So with this perk, it's just super easy to swap that out for a full med kit. Now let's move over to 11. She has We'll See You, which gives you a token every time the killer sees your aura. This not only gives you valuable info telling you exactly when the killer knows where you are, but once you get 4 tokens, the whole team sees the killer's aura for 15 seconds. This is a fantastic way to punish killers who rely a little too much on aura reading, but my absolute favorite survivor perk from this entire group is Extrasensory Perception. You crouch for a few seconds and you see everything. I'm talking totems, gens, teammates, chest, and even the killer. The information you get is insane, and if you pair this up with open-handed to increase the range, you basically have wall hacks. So overall, we got 2 dud teamwork perks and we have 4 genuinely solid perks. And I think these perks we're actually gonna see in public matches, not like any of the perks that have come out in the last year. But look, perks come and go. We all know that Dead by Daylight is really about fashion. And usually legendary skins are cool, but this time Behavior didn't just drop skins. They basically dropped entirely new characters. So first we have Eddie Munson. This is the legendary skin for Dustin. And I'll be honest guys, I've said it before, I've never actually watched Stranger Things. I know I've been watching way too much Bar Rescue, but even I know this is huge. I always have people coming into my chat asking for Eddie, and now Behavior finally delivered. The model looks great, and I know a lot of you guys are going to be maining him. Then we have Robin, who's the legendary skin for Nancy. Again, another massive community request fulfilled. But speaking of Nancy, I don't know if this is a bug or a permanent change, but Nancy's face looks a little odd right now. I don't know if she got stung by a bee or had a botched surgery, but hopefully Behavior fixes that before the servers go live. For the new survivors, 11 got a Mall Star outfit and Dustin got a Game Night skin plus an extra shirt. And finally, Vecna got a very rare skin, and honestly, it's nice and it's well designed, but I personally prefer the default look. There's just something about the classic raw Vecna that just feels more intimidating. So let's get the full picture. We have a killer that's unique, high skill, and actually fun to play against. We have perks on both sides that are strong enough to shake up the stale meta. We have skins that you guys have been wanting for years. And most importantly, we have a game that actually works. If this is the standard for 2026, Dead by Daylight's in a very good place. I'm giving the Stranger Things Part 2 chapter a 10 out of 10. This is a must buy. If you agree with me, don't forget to subscribe. And if you don't like this video in the next 5 seconds, Nancy with her botched face will show up outside your window tonight.